Welcome to Quick Course Digest. Today, we are diving deep into business analytics, but not just the numbers and charts. We're talking about strategy. Think of it like this. In the competitive world of business, analytics is your playbook. It's how you see the entire field, guess what your opponent is going to do next, and make those game-winning plays.
All right, so here's our game plan. First, we're going to scout the competition and assess the arena you're actually playing in. Then, we'll figure out how to choose your unique position on the field. After that, we'll talk about growth strategies, both here at home and out in the big wide world. And finally, we'll see how this all comes together in a real-world showdown. Let's jump in.
Okay, first things first. You can't just run onto the field without a plan. The very first step in any good strategy is to take a hard, honest look at the environment your business lives in. You got to know the landscape.
Right, because no company operates in a vacuum. The first question any leader has to ask is, so how tough is it out there? Are you in a friendly market with a few competitors? Or is it an absolute battle royale for every single customer? Understanding that level of intensity, well, that's the foundation for every single decision you make from here on out.
And that brings us to this key idea, the level of rivalry. It's really just a fancy way of asking, how fierce is the fight? And here's the bottom line. When rivalry is high, profits for everyone tend to be low. Why? Well, because all the companies are burning through cash on things like advertising, price wars, and special promotions just to stay in the game.
So what turns up the heat? A few key things. When you have a ton of competitors who are all about the same size, that's a recipe for rivalry. Same goes for a market that isn't growing. If the pie is not getting bigger, you've got to steal a slice from someone else. But it gets really intense when the exit barriers are high. That just means it's super expensive or complicated to leave the industry. So companies feel trapped and they have no choice but to fight it out.
Okay, so you've scouted the terrain. Now it's time for a critical decision. You absolutely cannot be everything to everyone. You have to choose how you're going to compete. This is where we shift from looking out at the world to looking inside your own company. When you boil it all down, there are really two main ways to play. You can go for a low-cost strategy, just like Walmart. Their whole mission is to be ruthlessly efficient, cut every unnecessary cost, and give you the lowest price. Or you can choose a differentiation strategy, like Apple. The goal there isn't to be cheap, it's to be so cool, so unique, so innovative that people are happy to pay more for it.
And this brings up a huge question. What happens if a company gets a little greedy? What if they try to be the cheapest and offer the most unique, premium product? It sounds like the perfect plan, right? The best of both worlds. But in the real world, it's usually a recipe for disaster.
And that brings us to the cautionary tale we all know. Blockbuster. Just think about it. They couldn't compete on cost with Redbox and its cheap rentals, and they totally missed the boat on the convenience and innovation of Netflix. They weren't the cheapest option, and they definitely weren't the best or most different. They were completely stuck in the middle, and we all know how that story ended.
This quote from the strategy guru Michael Porter just nails it. A great strategy isn't just about picking what you're going to do. It's about having the courage and the discipline to say no to all the other tempting opportunities. It's all about focus.
So, you've sized up the competition, you've picked your position. What's next? It's time to grow. Let's look at some of the classic moves a company can make to expand right here on its home turf.
There are three main ways to grow without changing industries. First up is market penetration. This is basically just trying to sell more of your current stuff to your current market, like the never-ending cola wars between Pepsi and Coke. Then you've got market development. That's taking what you already make and finding new places to sell it, like when Starbucks put its coffee beans in every grocery store. And finally, there's product development, making new things for the customers who already love you. Think about how LaCroix comes out with a dozen new flavors every year. That's it, exactly.
Another really powerful growth move is to start taking over different parts of your own supply chain. It's called vertical integration. You can go backward and start making your own parts, like when Ford used to own its own rubber plantations and glass factories. Or you can go forward and take control of how your product is sold, like when Disney opened its own retail stores. In both cases, the goal is the same: more control and a bigger slice of the profit.
All right, so let's say you've had a lot of success at home. For many companies, the next big challenge is to look beyond their own country's borders. Let's talk about the exciting but very risky game of global expansion.
The reasons to go global are pretty obvious. The potential upside is massive. billions of new customers, maybe finding cheaper ways to make your products, and of course, spreading out your risks so that a bad year in one country doesn't sink the entire company. But, and this is a big but, the risks are just as huge. You're walking into a minefield of political issues, shaky economies, and the constant danger of making a cultural mistake that turns off an entire nation.
So what separates the companies that succeed globally from those that fail? Well, it turns out it's not just about having a great product. More often than not, the secret to winning on the world stage is being forged in the fires of intense competition right back at home.
This whole idea is captured perfectly in something called Porter's Diamond Model. It basically says that a nation's strongest global companies are built by 4 conditions. First, you need really picky customers at home who demand the best, pushing companies to be better. Think about Japanese car buyers and their obsession with quality. You also need great local resources and suppliers, like the amazing leather industry in Italy that supports its world-class shoe brands. But most important of all, you need that fierce, intense rivalry at home. It acts like a training camp, making companies tough, innovative, and ready to take on anyone in the world.
Okay, we've gone through a lot of models and theories, but let's be real. Strategy doesn't happen in a classroom. It happens out in the wild, where things are messy, unpredictable, and always changing. So let's look at a quick case study. Take a look here at the market for business intelligence software. This is a perfect example of a competitive arena. You've got Microsoft as the big, dominant leader and Tableau as the strong number 2. This is that high rivalry situation we were talking about right at the beginning.
So if you're in a market this competitive, what do? Well, another tech giant, Salesforce, made a massive move. They bought the challenger, Tableau, for a staggering $15.7 billion. This is a classic strategic play, buying your way into a new, hot market to add another powerful tool to your belt.
But here's where the clean, simple lines on a strategy diagram crash into the messy reality of human beings. A move that looks brilliant on a spreadsheet can fall apart if you alienate the people who made the company great in the first place. And as you can see from this quote, many of the loyal users who built the Tableau community felt like they were being ignored after the big sale. It's a huge reminder that your strategy is only as good as your ability to execute it.
And that really brings us to the most important point of all. Strategy isn't some dusty plan you write once and then stick in a drawer. It's a living, breathing process. It's about constantly watching, learning, and adapting because the world never stops changing. So the real question isn't just, what is strategy? The question you should be asking yourself is, who is adapting and who is on their way to becoming the next blockbuster?